gentlemen, hello. Hour number 3 of the line, Talk 99.5. This one's going by fast today, John Bird.
Just rolling right along.
Which is crazy considering that you're not on Adderall today. Boy, you'll be feeling good tomorrow, though, when you get that dose in you.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'll probably take my other, like my supplements and vitamins and stuff when I get home.
Yeah, you'll be all right for today. Just go home and take you a little nap.
Okay.
Maybe I'll FaceTime you at some point.
Yeah, no nap.
I may do a little YouTube video with you tonight.
Okay,
on the
let's do it.
Line channel. Little side by side.
Let's do it.
Hey, one story. Let me get to this. There's one story that's kind of flown under the radar because everything's been crazy as of late. But out of Austin, over the weekend, there was a terror attack at a bar, and a couple people I think 3 people got killed in this attack, and it was an alleged terror attack by a guy who was wearing a shirt that said Allah, property of Allah, and an Iranian flag shirt under that. Police in Austin, Texas are now giving us a live update. Let's dip into that and see what kind of new information they have there.
The vehicle then continued westbound on West 6th and parked near the intersection of West 6th Street and Wood. The suspect then exited the vehicle armed with an AR-15 rifle. The suspect fired at a pedestrian, striking them, then walked back toward the bar. As additional officers arrived, they were directed by the suspect's location by brave people that were caught in this nightmare, and they worked to move bystanders to safety and establish a secure perimeter. At 2:03, 3 officers located the suspect near the intersection of West 6th and West Avenue. The suspect discharged his firearm at the direction of the officers. The 3 officers discharged their firearms, striking him multiple times. Officers approached the suspect, took him into custody, requested medical assistance. The suspect was later pronounced deceased at the scene. Our suspect is a 53-year-old male. The Austin Police Department has had no contacts with this suspect. His only interaction with law enforcement was in 2022, and that was a check welfare in an outside agency. This call was referenced his mental health. As this investigation has progressed, APD has learned of additional victims. APD is now aware of a total of 19 people that have been struck by gunfire. 3 people, including the suspect, were pronounced deceased at the scene. The 2 deceased victims on scene were identified as a loving daughter and a friend, Savitha Sean, 21 years of age, and a loving son and friend, Ryder Harrington, 19 years of age. These are 2 people that were dearly loved throughout this community, and that is quite clear. Both young individuals with bright futures ahead of them. On Monday, March 2nd, one of the victims, identified as a loving son and friend, George Pedersen, 30 years of age, was pronounced deceased, and he had just moved to Austin 2 weeks prior. At this time, 2 victims remain at local hospitals, with 1 in critical condition. Before we begin showing the material, I want to acknowledge the complexity and the gravity of this scene. This viewing material that you're about to see is difficult to hear, it's difficult to see. We didn't do this value. This is about being as transparent as we can, and believe me, we had to look through video that was appropriate to release to all of you. But it was important, again, to understand the events that led up to this officer-involved shooting. Any video showing the suspect firing his pistol into the crowd is too graphic to show, and we will not share that publicly. We will begin by listening to 2 911 calls, and as you can imagine, we received numerous calls, 911 calls, which were hard to listen to. And these are the 2 that we're going to be sharing today.
This is Austin 911. Police area now. Hello?
I know there's nothing you can do. Go behind there.
Hello, this is Austin 911. Hello, this is Austin 911.
No, go and get down
This is our second call.
Usually on 6th Street, there's gunfire. The cops are here, but everybody...
Is anybody with you, Sean?
Yeah, there's nobody shot within me, but I heard like 6 gunshots from inside. Everybody ducked down on the bottom floor. It sounded like it was from the... We're just right outside. We're hiding between cars.
Okay.
We're behind you, bro. We didn't run.
You heard gunshots from inside?
Yeah, there's cops running towards it. Just more would help out. There were 6 gunshots, and there was 3 more on the street beside you first, towards the right, looking south. There was 3 more. I think those are the cops fighting against it. There's also more sirens coming in.
Yes, we have a lot of help on the way, okay? Stay in a safe place. I need to go answer another 911 call, okay?
Go for it. Thank you. We're fine. We're in cars. But answer another call, please.
Yeah, stay
We're all
safe,
safe.
okay?
We're all safe.
All right.
We're all safe. Thank you. It was...
We're now going to listen to radio traffic.
They're advising that the shooter vehicle is going to be a Chevy Tahoe. They are saying somebody was shot. George 301 going 23, units will be there. There were 6 or 7 gunshots.
We have director travel suspect.
Checking.
First thing I want to see a black Chevy Tahoe.
DR43. I do have one victim. Looks like he possibly shot it. We're right here on the side street. From the male.
Clear, one shot.
We got full to also be about, we probably have about 6 or 8 people that are active been shot.
Yes, dude, we're going 23 with the medics at the clear. Bring them in.
George 301 is trying to be a citywide away.
Clear, citywide only.
That's an officer needs assistance.
We're probably as many officers we can get. We have a lot of people running out. We just have to get the crime scene as soon as we can.
Clear, citywide ONA has been started.
It's unknown on where the suspect went. All we have is a white SUV. George 505, I'll be in command. RTS 1 is 23. George 79, I'm in command. RTS 2, I have command. We're inside here first. We have at least 1 victim. Patient contact.
Responding units, we need you guys to clear 6th Street. We need EMS to have a route of ingress.
George 505, AXP is going to be 6 in Rio.
Rank 302 to responding units. I cannot stress this enough. You guys need to keep 6th Street clear. Shut it down if you have to.
Here's some video on George. Just let y'all know you pretty much got the city coming to you. Do you want them to stage at the main and dispatch from there? What do you guys need? 79, there are additional shots being fired.
Clear, additional shots being fired.
302, that was to the west. Those shots are on the on West Avenue. 302 is saying it's at AR-15 to the west.
On 6th Street.
Fired, 1 down. 6 on West House. Black photo. Black camera. I'm going to stop it. Move to now. Over the street. And left.
Now we're going to listen to, or we're going to look at video, and this first video is from a parked vehicle that picked this video up. You can see our suspect come into frame. He has the AR in his hand. And this is a pedestrian that was walking by. Second video is our halo surveillance. That is our high activity location observation. And this is throughout downtown, at least that 6th Street area. We were able to capture this. And the red circle there is going to be, this is after he parked the vehicle and as he's walking eastbound on 6th Street toward the officers. This is what that's going to show.
This is wild footage we're watching here. Showing the gunman walking down the street, shooting. And now police engaging him, firing back. And police put him down pretty quick, according to this video. Again, we're listening to a live press conference out of Austin, Texas, on the mass shooting over the weekend by an alleged terrorist. Terrorist who was wearing a shirt saying "Property of Allah," which brings us to the conclusion, brings most people to the conclusion that this has something to do with what's going on in the Middle East at the moment. Let's keep rolling with this. Maybe she'll start speaking. They're currently showing video of police after taking down the suspect, and now they're moving in as he's been down for a moment.
He's not moving. That first officer shot him first thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the police moved pretty quick. And now we're looking at body cam footage of the officer that I assume, not sure which officer this is, but he's moving in as the suspect is shooting. You can see people running away. Telling everybody to get down so they can identify the suspect. There's the shots fired. They pumped him full of lead.
Gosh.
And these videos will be out on social media for you guys to see here in the next few, I would imagine.
Next video is from Officer 2's body-worn camera. This was an officer that was on West Street.
Okay, so they're going to go with different angles of this, and we'll hop back to it in a moment as this kind of transpires. Also, the hearing yesterday, I mentioned last hour about Representative Pat Fallon and his confrontation with Tim Walz. I assure you that when you hear this, you're going to love it. So they're asking questions right now. I think they're only going to ask 2 or 3 questions. The first one was about the victims. They said one was reportedly outside waiting for an Uber. Many of which that were struck were actually outside of the bar. They weren't in the bar as the gunman was coming down the street. So it was people outside, whether they were talking or waiting on an Uber or whatever. That's where a lot of the victims were ultimately located. Let's go back to this just for a moment.
Exactly what that nexus is. But again, from that early on, the scene, calling in the FBI was the right thing to do. And you talk about a scene of that gravity and then the potential for terrorism, that had to be investigated, and it is.
We'll take one more question.
You talked about how the way you staffed the 6th Street area led to you guys being able to react quickly. Now that you've seen the success in a horrific situation that had, are you thinking about staffing any other areas of the city differently to make sure that you're able to have a similar response, or are you already doing it?
Yeah, I think when we look at, and again, Halo being that area where there's so much concentration, and, as Austinites, that 6th Street area is that entertainment area, and we get a multitude, thousands of visitors there on the weekend. And so, believe me, as new chief, when I came here, I thought, my gosh, look at the amount of overtime and the resources that we spend on 6th Street. But this is why. I mean, we have to be prepared, and anytime that you're having a very dense crowd and people are out, we need to be prepared to go, and not just for police, but for medical purposes, all of those. And so this is just, again, to look at the cast, the strike team that we have in conjunction with fire and EMS. That's what responded to these scenes as well, is being able to get there quickly to address these situations. So they will remain, and as we move forward, any crowds that we have, we are a department, again, that practices best practices throughout the country, and people look to us to what we do. Having that group every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're in this room. They have these cameras up on 6th Street. All of this, they're being looked at. So it is something that we do for very large events, so we're ready and we're prepared to go.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
That was actually a very strict press conference. They said 3 questions and 3 questions only, and that's literally all they took. What we learned out of that, was kind of some of the stuff that we already knew, which was 19 people struck, 3 people dead, including the gunman, a 21-year-old female and a 19-year-old male were the 2 deceased victims, one of which was outside waiting for an Uber. I didn't get the information on the other deceased female. They said there are people. I think they said there's still 2 people in the hospital. The suspect was armed with an AR-15 and just jumped out of his car. And they had video of him parking his car and getting out and walking. It was very eerie, John Bird, as we saw the gunman just kind of walking.
Surreal.
And the first person to get shot was just kind of walking by him, and he shot him at point blank.
Yeah, I mean, it was right there at him.
And it's just awful.
Man, that's sickening.
And they say, again, the majority of the people that were shot were actually outside of the bar. The initial reports made it seem as if this individual walked into the bar and started shooting. There's the video again. And he seems just so calm. And it's, oh, man, that video's fun to watch.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that'll be out on social media if you want to watch it. Just watch with caution. I would dare say that the officers on scene probably saved a whole lot of lives that night. The fact that only 2 individuals were killed, because this guy just had kind of free range. I mean, granted, you're in Texas, but Austin's pretty liberal. You probably don't have a whole lot of guns just out there. It's not like the Wild West with a bunch of cowboys walking around with a gun on their hip.
Yeah, I mean, it's a college town, too.
Right.
So.
College town, you've got, young people that are out just, enjoying the weekend. And, oh, man. And so I go back to, and you see that photo right there, John Bird. He had a Property of Allah sweatshirt on, and under it, it was a shirt with a printed graphic of the Iranian flag. So those would go to tell you that this is a direct result of, we think about sleeper cells in this country, which is one of the big threats when we have something like this going on. the, I guess, leadership or whatever they've got going on in Iran have said we are activating our sleeper cells and terrorist organizations all over the world, and
Yes.
especially in America, to attack and take innocent lives. That may not be the last time that we see something like that in the coming days and weeks. But everybody should always be on high alert because you never know when something like this or where something like this could happen.
Mm-hmm.
We think traditionally, like here in Alabama or in the Southeast, that you're mainly safe from, you don't see this kind of stuff. But always keep your head on a swivel and keep your firearm on you.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to the police. I mean, she was right. They were right there on the scene and took care of it quickly.
Yeah, they moved in quick, and that's probably if there's a silver lining, it is the fact that it was in that entertainment district, and that there is always especially in a college town, there is going to be some level of police presence because you've always got some kind of problems, especially the later it gets. There's always some need for police. You've also got it at bars and clubs. Police officers will be hired on their off days to come in and work at those establishments, work at the door, or just be there. Not necessarily have to do anything, but they'll be hired by the establishment just to be there as a presence. So the patrons and whoever, if anybody's wanting to cause trouble, as they're in the bar, they're in the club, they can see, hey, there's a cop here, so I might not want to do X, Y, and Z if they in fact have bad intentions. And that likely allowed officers to act so very quickly and save countless lives in what is a horrendous situation. 205-545-9950. Trucker Bobby says that 6th Street is where Joe Rogan's comedy club is, where Kill Tony's filmed. And that place was probably packed full of people. Yeah, I don't know. I think they do Kill Tony on Wednesdays. Or maybe that's just when they premiere the show. I'm not. I don't know. I got to ask Lynham. He would know exactly where that's at. But, yeah, if that's the case, if they were filming an episode of Kill Tony, what do they call that place? The Mothership?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of people. There's one guy that's always on Kill Tony now. His name is Timmy No Breaks. And I'll have to show you him. He's pretty funny. He's like this Andrew Dice Clay kind of sounding character. He's like, damn it, no breaks. That whole thing. He's hilarious. I mean, so much so I don't follow a lot of channels on YouTube because my personal YouTube is basically the Over the Line channel, and I don't want to get it cluttered up with a bunch of stuff. But I ended up following that guy because he's that funny. Timmy No Breaks. But yeah, man, awful situation. And we have to assume that it was in fact a terror attack. And I know, like, we don't really want to take things at face value. But I think that one probably, the math probably does add up on that one, being, a radical Islamist that, just flipped a switch and did it for his 72 virgins or whatever. He had no record, I guess, no police interaction. So he didn't have a criminal rap sheet or anything like that. So there wasn't a lot of information on him. But hopefully that comes out in the coming days. Like, who was he? I guess he was an American citizen. Where is he originally from? Those kind of things. I guess we'll get. Oh, Trucker Bobby says they film it on Mondays. So, but I'm sure they still have events on other days as well.
Oh yeah,
outside
probably something every night
filming Kill Tony. So, because it's a comedy club, so they likely have shows and everything else. So anyway, we'll see what happens on that front. I'll keep you updated as we go along. If you want to get in, the number here is 205-545-9950. That's 545-9950. Let me go back to where I was before that press conference, which was Pat Fallon. And Pat Fallon is a guy that's I think really going to be garnering some attention. Again, they had Tim Walz and Keith Ellison in Congress testifying about the massive fraud, and he brings up, and a lot of what this was is bringing up numbers. You heard Nancy Mace talking about the explosion in number of dollars that are being spent on autism in Minnesota, going from $1 million in 2017 to $343 million in 2024. God knows what it was in 2025. But Pat Fallon talks about the Somali community, the amount of Somalis in Minnesota, and how many of them are on things like food stamps or general welfare compared to the amount of native-born or American citizen Minnesotans. Do we call them Minnesotans or is it Minnesotans?
I think it's Minnesotans.
Minnesotans. What their welfare numbers are compared to the Somali community, because Tim Walz always says, our Somali community, that's our strength in Minnesota. That's what makes Minnesota so great. But once you hear the numbers as to what the Somali community in Minnesota is bringing to the table, it paints a very different story.
Do you believe the 70,000-strong Somali community as a whole has made a positive impact on your state?
I do.
So you'd be the opinion, fair to say, that the Somali community has successfully assimilated and is making Minnesota better?
Yeah, I believe they're on that path, yes.
I'm just curious by what metric you'd come to that conclusion. I just looked at some hard data. And do you have any idea what percentage of the native-born Minnesotans, all races, live in poverty in your state right now?
I don't have specifically.
I'll share it with you. It's 8%. For the Somali community, it's 52%. How about receiving food stamps? Same
I don't
thing.
know.
All right, I'll run it down with you. It's 7%, and then compared to 54% in the Somali community, and then don't have at least a high school diploma. For all Minnesotans, it's 5%. Somali community, it's 39%. One family member at least on Medicaid, it's 18% for Minnesota, 73% for the Somali community, and receiving welfare of some form, it's 21%. And that's 81% for the Somali community. Governor, do you happen to know what the percentage is of all those who have currently been charged in this staggering social services fraud scheme were native-born Minnesotans? What percentage?
I do not have that.
I think it was 85 out of 98, which comes out to 13% Minnesotan and 87% Somali Minnesotan. So I think this is an instance, perhaps, of where woke gets slapped by data. Governor, there's been billions stolen over 7+ years right under your nose, and really there's only two explanations. It's either you were in on it or you weren't smart enough to see it.
Yeah, it could be a little bit of both. So here's the data, just to go over what he just said. He said of the native Minnesota population, you've got about I'm looking at a chart, so I don't have the actual numbers for the native Minnesota population, but we'll say 12% of Minnesotans live below the poverty line. The Somali community in Minnesota living below the poverty line is 52%. Same thing for food stamp recipients. Food stamp recipients for native Minnesotans, 12, 13, 14% of Minnesotans living on food stamps. In the Somali community, 54% of them are on food stamps. High school diplomas for native Minnesotans, it's like 8, 9%. In the Somali community, no high school diploma, 39%. Medicaid recipients for native Minnesota population is about 18, 19% for Medicaid recipients. For the Somali community in Minnesota, 73% are Medicaid recipients. And in any sort of welfare, well, just welfare in general, any kind of welfare, 20% of native Minnesotans are on some kind of welfare. What's that percentage in the Somali community in Minnesota? 81%. And when it comes to the percentage of people charged with fraud of social services, native Minnesotans make up 13%. The Somali community makes up 87% of those charged with the fraud. That's pretty wild. That's some staggering numbers. And as Pat Fallon says, he says you're either involved in this or you're just too stupid to see it happening. And the thing that strikes me the most is the fact that he seems so woefully unprepared. Nancy Mace pointed that out. But he seems so unprepared. And I thought to myself, we saw that same thing during the presidential election cycle, that Tim Walz just seemed to have been randomly picked by Kamala Harris, and they just threw him to the wolves, and he had no idea what's going on. Pat Fallon pointed that out as well.
The facts are your leadership, and really your lack of leadership, has been responsible for one of the largest ripoffs of the American taxpayer in our history. And you traded, I believe, political expediency, the currency of political expediency, for your integrity. And, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you know this, but it's been widely reported that in 2008, when Barack Obama was choosing his vice presidential candidate, he had 3 criteria. He wanted to make sure he picked somebody that wasn't as smart as him and had less talent and charisma and couldn't possibly outshine him, so he picked Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden in 2020 used the exact same criteria. He wanted to make sure he picked somebody who wasn't as smart as him, had less talent and charisma, and wouldn't outshine him, and he picked Kamala Harris. And then in 2024, Governor, I think it's very evident why Kamala Harris picked you. The talent pool,
wouldn't know,
Mr. Chairman,
Congressman.
Mr. Chairman, the talent pool isn't just shallow, brother. We have hit the shore, and I yield back.
And is he saying this about Tim Walz? Tim Walz is laughing about it. He's like, yeah, I know, I'm an idiot. They picked me because I'm an idiot. We are, by the way, getting word that Trump has officially fired DHS Secretary Kristi Noem.
I know it. What
And
the heck?
I have no idea why that has happened. According to the Wall Street Journal, she has been fired. Now, this comes on the heels of Kristi Noem testifying on Capitol Hill. Just, I think yesterday. I think she was testifying day 2 yesterday. And so there's got to be something behind that. We'll do some investigating and get to the bottom. But breaking news right now: Kristi Noem fired by Donald Trump from DHS, and he is replacing her with Oklahoma Senator Mclain Mullen. That coming across the wire just now. It's like it's almost impossible to keep up with, John Bird. Just things move so
That's
fast.
exactly what I was thinking.
It's enough to make your head spin. It's just one thing after another. So, Markwayne Mullin is the new DHS secretary. And one thing you need to know is when I say Markwayne Mullin, Mark Wayne is his first name. It's all one word. Wayne's not his middle name. His name's Markwayne Mullin. He is, and y'all probably know him. I mean, he's a senator from Oklahoma, which makes me wonder: does this mean we now will have an open Senate seat in Oklahoma? It's kind of a weird time to do that, not just to fire a DHS secretary, but to pull a sitting member of Congress, a sitting member of the Senate from your party to pull him from his seat in the lead up to the midterms. But I haven't. I don't even. I guess maybe Markwayne Mullin's not even up for reelection this year. I don't know. You know, the Senate goes every 6 years, so it may not even be his time to run for reelection. Who knows? But we'll see how that pans out. Part of me wonders if he's not just moving Kristi Noem to another position, because in some cases that's what happens. And the reason this is so shocking is because there's been very little shuffling of this administration during Trump 2.0. We haven't seen much of this at all. We saw a lot of it in the first term because there were so many scummy people that latched on to the Trump administration or to Trump himself the first go round, and he was trying to, get his feet wet. But, this one just kind of, it kind of came out of left field, and it kind of didn't, because again, as I stated, there were hearings with Kristi Noem on Capitol Hill, and she didn't necessarily, she did okay, but she didn't really do the best job. There were questions like, there were some questions about FEMA funding going to North Carolina for the disaster that they dealt with. How long ago was this, John Bird? Was it 2 years ago? Or was it a year ago?
I don't remember if I was here or not.
With the hurricane? No, you weren't here.
Okay, well, then it would be 25.
Yeah, it was probably last year, and devastated that part of the country, that natural disaster. There was a lot of funding stalled for those individuals from FEMA, which would have been under Kristi Noem's umbrella, and that was brought up during questioning on Capitol Hill, and then all of a sudden it got approved. There was also these questions about this 200, I don't remember what the number was. Sure, it was like $200 million ad campaign or something like that DHS had put out, where a lot of these ads featured Kristi Noem like riding horseback or just being generally portrayed as this badass DHS secretary. And when she was questioned about that, she was like, "Oh yeah, Trump personally approved us to make those ads and everything else." And word is, according to reports, that wasn't necessarily true, and Trump didn't like the fact that she was putting it off on him, especially considering that he's trying to weed out fraud and waste and the Doge stuff and everything else. So who knows? Maybe that had something to do with it. It is ironic that it happens after testimony like that, and we don't even know if this is a firing. This may very well be Donald Trump moving Kristi Noem to a different position. He's done that a couple times in the past. He's even taken some people like Marco Rubio and added more jobs to them. That's and by the way, that's the thing about working for Trump. If you do too good of a job, he's going to put more on you. So you got to keep that in mind when you're conducting your duties. If you're ready to take on another job. But back to her replacement, Markwayne Mullin. I like Markwayne Mullin. I think he's a good guy to be in that position. He's very articulate. He does a lot of TV. He knows how to deal with the press. And we know that, especially in this current situation where Democrats are refusing to fund DHS because they claim that they want the immigration raids to stop in order to fund them. You need somebody tough in charge that's going to be able to get the job done, especially considering the national security threat that we're currently under with what we saw out of Austin, and likely more of that's going to happen. Sadly, uh, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. Crazy times. Hard to can't say it enough, man. Hard to keep up with. So y'all just buckle up and hang tight. And John Bird, you asked the question during the break. You're like, man, I would have thought Pam Bondi would have been the first to go.
Right.
But there's something. I mean, here's the way I view it. You know, even when I become frustrated with particular individuals within the administration, such as Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or whoever, I have to ask myself, since they're not gone or since they haven't been fired or moved or whatever, what does Trump see in those individuals? What does he see them doing?
He obviously sees talent. He knows talent.
Yeah, and they're doing something that we are not aware of that is advancing the Trump agenda. Because I don't know if you know this, but Trump has literally made a lot of money off of simply just firing people. He had this little-known TV show called The Apprentice. They got some pretty big ratings. Best show ever on NBC. And it was literally a show about him firing people. He has no problem firing people that are not doing the job. So that brings me to a place where I'm like, okay, well, he hasn't fired this person or that person, and so they got to be doing something right. Even though Pam Bondi's had some flubs, even as of late when she was asked certain questions and she said the Dow is good, which is a good point, and I get where she's coming from, but it turned into a lot of memes and didn't work in her favor. The first Epstein release with the binders to the social media influence, like there's been some weird moments for Pam Bondi. But Trump is sticking by her for some reason. And, you know, Trump knows a lot more than we do. He knows what's going on. He knows what's getting done. And he's not going to let Pam Bondi stick around if she's not doing the job that he wants her to do. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. Earnest Financial, retirewithernest.com, retirewithernest.com. If I told you that David Ernest has been doing this for about 45 years, 45 freaking years, man, that's longer than I've been alive. I wasn't even a thought 45 years ago, which means he knows the markets. And the markets are very unpredictable right now with what's going on all across the world. So there's never been a better time for you to reach out to Earnest Financial. Doesn't cost you anything. They don't get their fees from you, and come up with a plan for your retirement. Get your retirement protected so you're not losing money. You're only gaining money, and get yourself settled. 55 or older, got over 50K in your retirement, call this number, 833-596-7233. That's 833-596-7233. Online, retirewithernest.com. Make sure you tell them that Andrew Mclain sent you.